complain about all the things that go on around, blaming somebody else for the lack of harmony, someone else for the discordant noises going on. It's important to come back to a recognition of what one is putting out oneself, and being able to differentiate that noise from other people's noise, so that the sound starts to be more harmonious with our neighbors, our families, our friends, the people we interact with day after day, the things that go on in ourselves. Because before we interact with others, we have to learn how to harmonize body and mind and heart. And body and mind and heart have been out of sync and harmony themselves. The mind plays one song and the heart plays another, and the body is just amplifying what it hears. So when mind and heart are at odds with each other, the sound that comes through the body is not a pleasant type of frequency. So mind has the chance of being still. Heart has a chance of coming to rest. And from that begins a new sound, a new frequency. Something that can operate in our worlds in a different way. We learn all sorts of frequencies, all sorts of discordant sounds through growing up in childhood, and people carry their childish and childhood songs and sounds along for years and years and years. Always being troubled by the same sound. And the opportunity is to come back to the place where the sound that is coming forth is crystal clear. And the sound that we're putting out into our individual worlds is more harmonious with day-to-day life. And there's no one out there that is to blame for the sound that we're sounding ourselves. We can't start with somebody else. We can just start with being clear about what we're putting out as individuals, what we're putting out as a collective. Yeah, so we start with the sound of life and the tone of day-to-day life. Becoming more conscious of what we're putting out into our world. Because the world will reflect back cacophony if we put out cacophony. And we don't have to put up with everything, all the noise that's going on around. Because most of the noise is one of discordance anyway. But one needs to recognize what one is putting in as an individual into the world, into our immediate environments. And the frequency of what we participate in is always up to us. If we're participating as individuals in something that's noisy in the world, that's a cacophony of noise, then we have a chance to put something out different, or choose different participants. Because sometimes one cannot change what's going on as far as other people is concerned. So the only choice is, why participate with that? If it's noisy, if it's a sense of noise and chaos, we're in the individual world of choice. This ultimately is the part where mankind's mechanism of hearing the harmony has been so lacking and so unaware of what the choices are, that no one takes and creates their own choice. We listen to the choices of the news and the reports and think that that's what the choices are. But let's have a new vision of something. Let's have a new vision of what can be sounded between us and others. Let's have a new vision of the opportunity to choose to participate with those who are creating something new, something clear, something more harmonious with life, something more harmonious with all of creation. Creation is in harmony when mankind is in harmony. And creation reveals that harmony and has the opportunity to reveal the harmony. And hence the fact that we have the opportunity to re-enter the golden age when we create the harmony, when we sound it into our worlds again, consciously. It doesn't mean we ignore the rest of it. It just means that we become more conscious of what it is that we're putting out and what it is that we're choosing. Because through those choices, we let the world know what we're harmonizing with as individuals. It's not going to stop other people from harmonizing with other things. Can't stop them from doing that. That's the mistake in trying to force other people, force our ideas or our sound onto other people. People have been doing that for thousands of years, with the influence of all sorts of personal and subculture prejudices that go along with that. But what if we didn't have those subculture prejudices? The prejudices of mind and heart, ideas that keep us apart from our own oneness, the oneness between heaven and earth, the oneness between the divine being and the human being. See, these frequencies exist in ourselves from culture, subculture of insanity, the insanity of separation, or a sense of separation, ideas of separation. Ultimately, there is no separation, but if we see ourselves as separate, then we start to conceive and use the language and the tone, the frequency of separation. And that's insane. Insanity is truly trying to be separate from the world around us, maintaining somehow our own state of affair of consciousness, promoting it perhaps as better than someone else's. Because there's no one with a better subconscious or better subculture who is out there. As long as the subcultures are going on, they're all insane. The culture of oneness is the culture of the sane. Because in the oneness, we don't waste money on war. There's no point. It's a useless attempt at spending life force, using life force, killing people, inflicting one culture, perhaps the Western culture's ideas on the Eastern cultures. The Eastern cultures fight back, or perhaps, well, it's been going on so long that the separation of nationality and everything else is thought about in some way as empire building, but it's insanity. People building empires are insane. They use all the life force and their resources of life force for war. And all those resources could have been used to create something new, something more harmonious. The cost of war isn't just death of soldiers and death of innocent people. The cost of war is the cost of all the expenses that go along with it, the life force that's used to promote it. If we didn't have war, there'd be no war on terrorism and everything else, drugs and all one nation against another. Just think of the huge amount of life force and resources that could go into something else. But people haven't thought of these cultures and subcultures as insane. So they do it. They participate in it, thinking that their governments or their nations are so great, inflicting by force on somebody else. But there is a cost. And we think of it in terms of money, when money is an illusion. It's just a substitute pattern for life force. So what do we choose to use our life force for as individuals? We choose to use it to see and to promote separation, separateness, subcultures of one form or another that we're so proud of, insanity of one form or another that we're so proud of. Or do we start to see the same nature of oneness, where we can, on the planet, in the golden age, feed people, give people food and shelter and water and peace? Is that something that you and I can not only conceive of, but can start to promote through our body and mind and heart? Because if we are just promoting our own cacophony of noise of our individual lives, then we're still in the hung-up state of self-centeredness. People live in the cacophony of noise of their individual life without being able to get out of it and do something greater, to assist the world to come into peace, because they've reached peace in themselves. They've extended past the idea and the consciousness of a subculture. Subcultures extend into men. Men think in certain subcultures. Women think in certain subcultures. Children, adults, taxpayers, politicians, governments, all subcultures. All little cultures of their own. So come out of the subculture. Come out of the identity with all those things of separation. Come out of the things of identity with just a narcissistic view of looking at the world as a whatever you identify with, and that's separate, because the separation doesn't exist. If you stay in the separation, you will live and die in the separation, and there'll be no idea, there'll be no conscious participation in something greater. The oneness. The oneness is greater. It would be not only boring to listen to someone describe this subculture, but someone who's prejudiced in their subculture against somebody else's subculture. Absolutely, the most boring things go on in that way. People trying to promote and prop themselves up as better than somebody else. There is no better. We all walk the same way. We all live and breathe the same way. We all have access to life force. This life force has been an illusion to mankind, because people, instead of paying attention to the life force, have paid attention to the substitute for life force. Money. Preoccupation with money. Lack of it. Wanting it. What can be done with it. Paying the bills with it. How much time is given to the preoccupation of the substitute of life force? And as a result, people's preoccupation with the substitute of life force makes them think somehow that they're less